Hey guys, it's WAM, I guess.
Nick is really distraught today.
We watched The Graduate this week.
Also, I'm back in Texas.
I'm Nick.
I'm Nolan.
What the fuck is up, guys? I'm so excited for this movie. It was great. I peaked like crazy.
You peaked mine.
Good.
Welcome to WAM, episode 6. Like
Welcome
I said, we
to
watched The
WAM,
Graduate. Overall, I mean, where do we really start, I guess?
Well, I just want to talk a little bit about like the plot of this movie. This is known as one of the classics of the 70s.
67.
67. That's
60s.
basically. Yeah, I mean, that's basically the 70s. 3 years off, it's legal.
Man, 2009 was basically 2012. Anyway,
What was the difference between 2009 and 2012?
God.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, so in 1967, this movie comes out. It stars Dustin Hoffman. I don't remember any of the other names. Soundtrack by Simon and Garfunkel. It's sort of a movie about this man who recently graduated college and got some big reward. He seems aimless in life, and then his mom's
Yeah, it's
friend,
his parents' friends.
which is Mrs. Robinson, hits on him. They end up sleeping together, and he's conflicted about that. And then he falls in love with Mrs. Robinson's daughter, and chaos ensues.
Yeah, and this movie, it was really funny.
I love the comedy.
It was really like dry funny.
It was dry funny.
But I think the lack of music, and then B, the only music being Simon and Garfunkel, really hurt the. Just for the movie standpoint.
Yeah,
It didn't fit with so many things in the movie, and there were so many points where it just felt like we were playing this because this is all we had. Like, it's guys, we just paid for Simon and Garfunkel. We have to use it.
That's definitely what it was. To me, that gives it some charm. I will say there's better fitting music to be put over these scenes, but I think this is around the time where that wasn't perfected unless you had a standard orchestra with you. What they tried to do in this is something different. They tried to reach out to a younger general audience with this, especially since this is sort of a counterculture movie. In some sense, Simon and Garfunkel was really sort of attached to the hippie movement, and they thought we could get a ton of hippies in here if we just got them to write and then perform the soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, it waited for the demographic being The Graduate, like for just getting college students in that age range. I mean, they did that right.
Yeah,
and I'm sure like the branding was like a woman like pulling up stockings. Like that's, it's gonna get people running in through the door.
This is their time's equivalent to Grown Ups 2.
Don't say that. That's not good. No.
That's what raunchy was in the 60s.
Grown Ups 2 was not like a good keystone of cinema.
I don't know.
I don't think the deer stealing that wife's bra was like important.
I don't know what list you've been on, but it's this. It's The Godfather, Parasite, Grown Ups 2.
See, I thought it was fucking Moonfall. I don't know.
It's Moonfall. Nut Job 2, Grown Ups 2.
Nut Job 2. What did we say last? Oh yeah, soundtrack.
We were talking about the music.
Yeah, just overall. I mean, like at the end when when tensions were rising and everything, and he was like speeding around, it was just fucking Simon and Garfunkel, and like it just didn't fit at all whatsoever.
No.
And it took the wind out of my sails for a lot of the movie. But aside from the music, I really enjoyed it.
I mean, aside from the music, you did enjoy it. But I need to emphasize how much just loud your hatred for the music was.
I hated the music a lot.
When he's there's a scene where he's going after Elaine, which is Mrs. Robinson's daughter, at her college, and he's just trying to find her throughout it and try to catch up to her while she's kind of avoiding him. And there's a pause in music, and then it always goes back to the same song, Scarborough Fair. And every time it was sort of like Nick's in pain. Nick's like disintegrating in front of me. And then the music would stop, and he would have a minute to catch his breath. And then it would go back, and you could see him sink in his chair. in disappointment.
It was so, it just hurt. It was like I was just getting stabbed. It just wasn't okay at all, man. I think this movie did suffer from some pacing problems, but I can't point at where. But
Yeah,
it
that's
just
fair.
feels overall like a lot of things were slightly dragged out, and it was just, I mean, I think this was the time where a lot of movies were literally just people were having a conversation more than like it was a story about something that could happen in real life versus like a made up story kind of thing. It was more realistic than movie, I guess.
This is pre-blockbuster, since
yeah.
most people say Jaws was the first.
Yeah, exactly. And so because of that, a lot of it, it's just not necessarily. I wasn't even bored. It was just, it wasn't keeping my attention, I guess, necessarily.
Yeah, I get it.
I was interested, and I wanted to know what was happening and what would happen to the characters, but I just didn't. It was just a little slow, I guess.
I'll say I think the main part of that gets us is we're not used to that much in between space. And what I mean by that is there's scenes where there's talking, we're learning stuff about the plot, and we're interacting with these characters. And then there's in between scenes that sort of establishes the tone. There's him driving to these locations, especially because there's a big emphasis on his beautiful foreign car.
It's a Alfa Romeo Bean. It looks so. What do you mean?
Oh, I love it.
It looks like an oval.
I mean, it does look like an oval, but I love my ovals.
Yeah, there was a lot of emphasis. I didn't think about that. There was just a lot of him fucking driving around. Where you saw him going to the places a lot.
Yeah,
which I didn't think about. But yeah.
And then this also was established with montages, especially once we establish his connection to the affair with Mrs. Robinson. Right as we establish that they've started a relationship, we see a large montage of him either at a hotel having sex with her, or he's at his pool sort of aimlessly floating around.
Yeah, like kind of daydreaming about having sex with her.
Daydreaming and sort of just like...
It's...
Well, what do you think he's thinking in that? Because I don't think I have the same opinion as you.
I think he was thinking about, I think he was having like his little inner conflict with helping this woman cheat on her husband, Mrs. Robinson. But at the same time having the like, whatever, fresh out of college, whatever, this cougar is chasing him. Like, this is sick kind of feeling, I guess. Because he was, like when he jumped in the pool in one of those scenes, he had like a big old goofy smile on his face. And that's what made me think that. Huh. And then it would cut immediately from like him in the pool like that, or him like leaning back to the night again. So it made me think that he was like just picturing about the night in his head, and it just happened to be weed. Oh, and that's where we had all the really great transitions with the backgrounds.
Every time we would get to either location, it would have him lying his head against something that was the same fabric. It was charcoal gray. Yeah,
it was like a bed, a headboard, and then like a pillow, and it was like 3 or 4 times.
We would do a zoom in of his face, and then once you cut to the next shot, he's still on that sort of fabric, but he's now at a new location. Yeah,
so he hasn't moved it. It was really, really seamless.
I love
for the age of the film too. That's really impressive because that's like that. At that point, that is art because they have to go frame by frame and literally like look at this physical piece of film and match it up. Versus now, I mean, we can do it on our computers, but I think that's a whole different.
I don't know if they necessarily transitioned by fading it. I think
it was just a hard cut.
Yeah, I think it was hard cuts. It was literally just
I think it lined up.
Perfect. You're gonna imagine he's in this location because that's what we just showed you, and then we're gonna trick you. It's gonna be a different place.
Yeah, exactly. I think, but it was just done really, really well.
It was.
That was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I think I don't remember why this movie specifically was like the whatever film class go watch this for homework movie.
Yeah,
I think it was for the camera work.
It might have been for the camera work. I think it's. I think a lot of people point to this as a sign of the times because this is around the time where, oh my God, Miss Kathy, my professor in film history class, would be so angry at me now that I don't have this memorized.
Don't name drop your teachers. That's weird as
hell. I love Miss Kathy.
That's that's weird as hell. Don't name drop. I'm cutting that out. Don't. Just for like people, you shouldn't. Shouldn't do that. Your teacher at school.
If you met her, you know she's okay with that. But it's okay. this is around the time where we see movies start to, I guess, divide themselves. They're not just striving for a general audience. This is one of the first, niche films. This is for one audience directly. I don't
think this is niche at all. No.
Not like super niche.
It's about an affair.
No, I know it's about an affair, but what I'm saying is this isn't necessarily a film that's trying to market itself to everyone. I think this is a film that's trying to get that college audience, trying to get that, whatever reveling was in the 60s.
Film before that point, it wasn't general audience, it was just adult audience. There just wasn't a market for a lot of kids film. Westerns were really huge, spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
Specifically.
I'd say they were pretty...
They weren't for kids, though. They were for, they were for adults.
I could have sworn that the reason that the main censorship thing before the system we have now was sort of made because film was seen as such a family-oriented medium around the 40s. I'm not sure though. I got an A in that class, but if I say I remember any of it, I'm lying. I think another big thing, I do think it is the cinematography. What's your favorite shot from this?
My favorite shot in the movie,
because I think you know mine, because I was dying there, because I loved it.
I don't remember. Really the one with him in the whole scuba suit, that's funny. But I think one of my favorites was just when he was talking to Elaine and drenched wet and panicking, trying to explain about the woman he's having an affair with. And then blurry in the background, his mother, Elaine's mother, kind of peeks in the door, the woman, Mrs. Robinson, he's having an affair with. And then it shifts focus to her. Elaine's turns around, goes, "Oh my God." The mother leaves. Elaine slowly comes back into focus, and then it all paints pictures. She kicks him out. That was incredible.
That was
really, really well done.
I love
it.
Shot.
I didn't even see it coming. It was great.
My favorite shot was the one with the monkey.
The monkey? Oh, the sad monkey the happy monkeys or the sad ape?
Okay, I love the sad ape. So there's a shot in it where he's...
Or the bored ape, if you will.
We're not...
I mean, I'll charge you $1, but you could say it if you want.
If any NFT wants to sponsor us, please get a job. No, I am talking about the ape shot. We have our main character, Ben. He's chasing after Elaine in a zoo, and when she meets up with him, she's meeting with her boyfriend at the time, Carl something. And when they meet up, all three of them, it's sort of just Ben meets Carl, and Carl says hi, and then he takes Elaine away, and they sort of are going on a date, and it leaves Ben by himself. And you see Ben at this monkey section, and he's watching these two monkeys, and they're holding each other, and
they're
it's really
rocking
sweet.
Slightly.
And then we cut to this shot, which is my favorite. It's Ben looking at it through the cage, and he looks so sad, and then it both racks focuses and zooms very far into the distance.
It's like a manual zoom. It's so stupid.
It's a weird looking zoom.
There's a lot of stupid zooms, but I think they were just trying shit out. They're throwing shit at the wall and seeing what's stuck.
And then it shows a lone ape in the background who looks so sad and distraught.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be sort of like, oh, these two monkeys are Carl and Elaine, and the ape by himself is
you suck. But also, it was kind of cool to see how sad the zoo was before that, because I always heard about all movements to make zoos really happier for the animals and make them enrichment. Mm-hmm. And that with the two monkeys that were really happy with each other, they were in a metal box. There was nothing in there. It was a cold metal bench. Mm-hmm. And that's it's really sad, but that's really cool to see.
To see how we've gone so far.
Yeah, how it used to be. Because that's pretty incredible. Mm-hmm. But also, I looked it up. The reason that this movie was so important is that it set a precedent for just what movies were made and how they were cast. Because just the idea of a college boy having an affair with a married woman was so fucking... it was so taboo, and it was just not an okay thing. No one liked the book when it came out. It was a book.
So this is Grown Ups 2 of his time.
No, everyone loves grown-ups too. What do you mean? That was people got tattoos of that. I'm confident people got a grown-ups too tattoo.
I mean,
but,
yeah, there sure is.
Yeah, but like that's why. It's just because it was so just challenging to what movies got made and how they were cast is what people were saying mostly.
That's really cool. I mean,
which is thinking about that in the time, that makes sense.
The casting is really good. There's not a single person that's like bad or doesn't fit their role. I will say, the parents aren't anything in the story, but that's obviously not on the actors. I just don't think they were.
Yeah, they weren't given anything there. The parents were, I mean, like Ben's parents, our main character Ben.
Yeah.
His parents are very. They allude to him a few times that like, Ben, is something going on? Do you have a lady friend that you're not telling us about?
And you go, oh no. Why would you say that? I drive for 12 hours while I'm gone.
Yeah, and then so we really don't get a lot of interaction with them. There's some at the beginning with the graduation party and then his 21st birthday. But past that point, it's really only like passing conversation that we have. At that point, it's really the core of this movie is about just that love triangle of Elaine. Honestly, it's really Mrs. Robinson really is out of play after I'll say the first hour. She's out of there because at that point it's once Elaine is introduced, then he's totally Google Gaga for Elaine. He doesn't care about Mrs. Robinson at all because he's totally like, this is bad, we can't anyway.
I love how they show that he's fallen head over heels because you see him so distant from everyone. That's like the main thing we notice about him at first. He goes to his graduation party. He doesn't want to talk with anyone.
Well, that was before anything happened, though.
That is true, but
I guess that was just he didn't know. Oh, well. Sorry. Because at the very beginning of this movie, we get him and his dad talking about in Ben's room talking how he doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, and so he's just kind of in that questioning. He doesn't know where he's going to be going next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we see him start to try to reach out to people with Mrs. Robinson when he's just like before they do anything at the hotel. He says, "Hey, can we talk a little bit beforehand? I don't want to feel so lonely." And she's like, and that's the sound her pussy makes.
Yeah, every time. It was it probably was a good mark for them though.
And then she would say, "No, I don't want to talk with you. Get in bed."
Yeah.
You see him try to reach out with people at that point, but Mrs. Robinson doesn't care. But when he starts talking with Elaine and he gets into a real conversation with her, we sort of see them at a drive-through. And we can't hear them because they're in a car. And we have Simon and Garfunkel's Big Bright Green Pleasure Machine playing. And I thought it was a very heartfelt moment. And Nick is already shaking his head because he doesn't like this song.
I was thinking about ways to peel my skin off at that moment, I think. Yeah, but that whole scene that just from Ben taking her to like the titty bar.
Oh yeah.
And then with that very talented woman with the pasties, she was great.
Great.
She's probably dead now also. I just thought about that. But or she's someone's grandma.
Dustin Hoffman is still alive.
That's true. So she could be alive, and so we could find her and be like, "Hey, your tits were great in 1967."
Yeah. Mrs. Robinson makes Ben swear, "You will not take out my daughter." She doesn't believe he's good enough for her. I also imagine she doesn't want the man who she's sleeping with to date her daughter. I think that's a pretty good role to set.
She just doesn't want to share him. That's all it is. Yeah. That's what I thought it was going to be. But then it was just like we didn't get an explanation. It was just like, don't see my daughter.
I don't know what it is. I think she took him because he's a little bit of a coward. So she was like, he was good to sort of have as an affair.
I mean,
she doesn't want that quality for like, her son-in-law.
I mean, I don't think it's because of that, but at the beginning, you hear those women at the graduation party, like at the start. They're like, "Oh, he's such a lamb," like as he's walking away.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's literally like that was her thought process. Is like it's just sweet little innocent kid. Like he didn't even have that was his first time with her.
That was his first
time. And she was like giggling about it, but what was the thing you just said?
Because Mrs. Robinson had made that vow to, or because Ben had made that vow to Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah.
When his parents started forcing him to go on a date with Elaine just to be nice, Ben goes, "Okay, Mrs. Robinson, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get her on the worst date ever, and I'm never going to talk to her again. And Mrs. Robinson's like, I'll kill you because of this. How dare you do this? So they go out on a date, and the first thing they do is they go to a strip bar. And
I wasn't saying, like, repeat the entire thing. I was just saying, like,
No,
the very last part that you said. We already said that part.
I know. I was just listening back to where we were just to give some context.
Oh, damn.
What are some of you? There are some really great parts in this movie.
Man, I had a whole thing I was gonna say. That's why I was asking you to repeat it. I
I'm
lost
sorry.
it now. No, it's alright. We'll just cut that chunk.
Okay.
But
What do you think's the metaphor behind the scuba gear? I love the scuba gear.
I think that when Ben goes into the water deep down and then he tries to surface back up, his father pushes him down. I think that's all just symbolism for Ben trying to break out of his shell and be his own person in a relationship. But, you know, the father, the parent, that Mrs. Robinson, is pushing him back down into the water where he still can breathe and do everything fine, but everything is distorted around him and he's not exactly there. And then he probably gets out and, like, jacks it, and that's probably something with Elaine, but, you know.
When did you get your PhD? What?
Yeah, dude,
I forgot that you can do that really well. If I ask you
Bullshit,
to do, if I ask you a stupid question, you're always going to bring out a really good stupid answer. I forgot that you can do that.
But that whole bit was just when on his 21st birthday, Ben's dad gives him scuba gear, and he's like the whole family's outside, and he's like, all right, guys, this young man's gonna come out, and Ben doesn't want to, and he's like, you're disappointing them, and then it's just this long drawn out like POV shot from inside the scuba gear of him like walking out to the pool slowly and everyone looking at him. His dad's talking to him. We can't hear anything. All we hear is like a it's so good.
Oh my gosh. I think my favorite part there, okay, where's Berkeley? Because they're near Berkeley, right? I don't necessarily know. But what I noticed is they use the scuba gear in the pool. That's it.
Yeah, it never shows
live
up again in the
near
movie.
the ocean? Does he have an interest in scuba-ing? Because he got a journalism reward, I think. Didn't he? I think he was something in journalism. But I don't know. The start of the movie was a mess because there were so many people talking. And it's mostly just to establish, he really doesn't like talking to people.
California.
Berkeley's in California? Okay, well then maybe scuba gear might come in handy.
He still never went to the beach.
He still never went to the beach.
He could have.
Maybe that's what they were doing at the end.
He could have, like, stalked on Elaine with his scuba gear in that, like, 5 minutes he was just stalking her to get married. And then it worked. It worked out for him, so I don't get that. But
yeah. Oh my gosh. Carl. My favorite part about Carl, which is barely on screen, he's just sort of the rivalry that happens at the end, where Elaine's thinking of marrying two guys. It's either going to be Carl or it's going to be Ben. And Carl gets picked just because, at first, or mostly just because he slept with her mom. And also because at some point, Mrs. Robinson tells not only Elaine, but Mr. Robinson that Ben had raped her to try to take all blame away from herself. But my favorite thing about Carl is he has this sort of group around him. He's in some sort of fraternity. And as we noticed, everyone in that fraternity looks like Hitler Youth.
Yeah, they were all blonde hair, blue eye. It was really weird.
They were all like bowl cuts and tan.
It was very, I don't know. It was really off-putting because I just didn't expect it at all. They were like carbon copies of each other.
He has to go to the fraternity to find out where the wedding is so he can interrupt it with a beautiful scene. But you just see him going in there like, hey, can you tell me where this guy is? I'm supposed to be there. And then they just grab more of each other and say, hey, where's Carl? We're all in the shower and stuff, and they're all just yelling at each other.
And then on the, like, when they're leaving, one of the buddies of Carl is like, hey, tell him to save a piece for me. And they're like, ha ha ha, of the cake. And so they're
wasn't
like,
talking about his
yeah,
fiance.
they're insinuating that Elaine's a whore, and I think that's quite funny. But then also, why was that guy showering with? He had the option. There was a curtain. He just didn't close the curtain.
Pride.
No, I don't.
Pride.
No. What if he had poop ass? Everyone would have saw that.
Well, I imagine
everybody.
What if he checks for poop ass before?
How does he do it? He can't see a mirror. He doesn't have a mirror.
You hand it.
So, you got to do a check every once in a while.
Yeah, you stick.
Why do you have all these white note cards in your pocket? Shut up.
Speaking of like stupid answers, or I guess just like being bullshitting on the fly. One of my favorite scenes is when he got to Santa Monica or Santa Barbara, where he knows the wedding is, and he goes through the phone book there at this gas station, and he's flipping through it. He's tearing out the pages, and then he gets on the line with the doctor, who is Carl's dad, and some receptionist picks up, and she's like, "What's going on?" And he just goes, "I am the doctor's brother, whatever,
Reverend Smith."
Yeah, Reverend Smith. I need to get there ASAP. I'm delivering the eulogy or whatever.
Yeah, I'm the priest at the wedding, whatever it is.
Yes.
And I forgot where the church is.
And then she's like, "Oh, check this one." And
yeah.
He said, "Awesome." And then he just goes up to the gas station clerk who overheard that and says, "Which way to this street?"
Where's Allen Street? Yeah.
That way. And then he just rushes off.
Yeah,
he what
does
kind of car is it?
It's an Alfa Romeo, and he just jumps over the door, it's convertible, so jumps into the driver's seat, and as he's doing that, the guy at the gas station is like, "Do you need any gas, father?" As he's like like peeling the fuck out. It was so good.
The car comedy in this I really love. Well, just like I love how tiny it is, and every time he skirts in and skirts out, it looks stupid. But the favorite shot of mine is they're going to he's on a date with Elaine, and he's dropping her off, and she's like, no, he says, "Do you want to spend some more time together?" And she's like, "Sure, we can go to a bar." So he drives off, and then she says, "We should go to Taft's," which is the hotel where Mrs. Robinson and Ben have been having the affair. And he immediately hits the curve super violently just because he got shocked. And she's like, "Whoa, are you okay?" It's like, "Yeah, you sure they have drinks there?"
You think they have a bar? And then as he walks into that hotel, every since he's been going there with Mrs. Robinson before just so many times, every single attendant at the hotel is like, "Good evening, sir.
Mr.
Nice to see you, sir. It's good evening." And then this really small guy with a really high-pitched voice just walks by. He was really fucking funny. Yeah, that was so funny.
Every movie, this is an opinion I'm always going to have. Nothing will change this opinion of mine. Every movie is better if there's a really short person in it at some point, unexpectedly.
Like Mini-Me.
Mini-Me. I think at some point nobody knew about... God, I'm blanking on the name.
Justin Bieber? Yeah.
Justin Bieber. Sleeper. I was thinking of Willy Wonka and the chocolate people.
There's so much nothing in this movie. Like, not nothing, but there's so much... It's not exactly something I can talk about, you know?
I think we've talked a lot about what there is to say. The big thing about movies that are around this time is there's less production going into it as we would nowadays.
This was very much... like a camera and a microphone kind of
camera, microphone. There was some lighting, and we were dogging on the lighting in one scene.
It was at Mrs. Robinson's house when they go in her living room. I felt like it was a set because all the plants are outside of her window are like directly outside of the window and look like they're spaced very close together, so you can't see outside.
To hide the black wall.
Yeah, which is fine. I don't care. But come on.
For continuity's sake.
Just get a normal house, but whatever.
I will say, if it is a set, it's really interesting how they built it, because they show a lot of 360 shots. So they built the whole thing. It's not like it's a third wall.
Yeah, it definitely would have been just a house that they built in a studio, but...
Yeah, in a sound.
I don't know. Actually, now thinking about it now, I can't imagine that they would have done that, considering that this movie almost didn't get made.
Yeah.
So that probably was just a house. They might have been just obscuring it for background, just so that they don't have to worry about. I don't know.
Maybe there's like an overlook of some sort. Maybe that just looks nicer. Maybe the owner just had really bad design.
Maybe Mrs. Robinson is just a drunk and doesn't know what to do with her plants.
Oh yeah, she is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And that's never mentioned.
Nope.
except to highlight the fact that Elaine was a mistake.
Yeah, that is a big the whole reason that Mrs. Robinson is on
Married
this
sister,
is on this bender with this affair is that she didn't want to get married in the first place. When she was in college, her and Mr. Robinson, her now husband, had sex in a Ford, which they kind of has like haha funny. And then she gets pregnant. They have to get married. And she used to be into art, and over the years she just lost all interest in it, and then she was an alcoholic, and just they don't even sleep in the same beds.
But it's his fault they're getting divorced. Or it's Ben's fault. Nothing could have predicted this.
To be fair, if Ben didn't fuck her, I don't think they would have gotten a divorce.
That's fair. They
She
would
would
have just been unhappy.
Yeah,
forever.
she would have just died unhappy. Is what it would have been.
That's fair. I guess she's probably still gonna die unhappy. One casting I wasn't fond of at first, or at least I wasn't moved by, that I found myself moved by. Mr. Robinson. At the start, he's sort of just like this guy.
Generic ass.
Yeah, generic man.
husband.
He's really happy for Ben, and he's really nice. But once you see him more agitated, once he finds out about the affair and going up to Ben and getting very aggressive, you see a different side of him. And I really like the switch up because he sort of goes from feeling like, oh, this is a dope, it doesn't matter, to not feeling threatened, but feeling like he has like some ground to stand on.
Yeah, and through that whole time, he wasn't there to choke Ben out. He was just there to tell Ben, like, hey, you ruined my life. Thank you. And then left.
I love
Yeah,
that is
that was also well, it was hard, but earlier there, Elaine, when they're talking to Ben and Elaine are talking to each other in an apartment at Berkeley, Elaine ends up screaming because of something Ben says about her mother.
Yes.
And then everyone at the in the building
In the
comes
dorm,
to the door and they're like, hey, what's going on? And the guy, the landlord there or whatever, he's like, hey, I want you out of here. And he's like, why? And he's like, it don't matter. I don't like you. I want you out of here.
But look at her. And he opens the door.
Then he opens the door and he's like, look, she's drinking water. She's so happy, not at gunpoint. But either way, he's like, I want you out of here. And then he stays for 2 more weeks until the whole thing with her dad happens. And then he's like, I want you out.
I've been thinking about that for so long. You hear a yelp. You hear a yelp in a different room. You come out because you think someone's in danger. You see everybody looking at a door. And everybody's like, that was a woman's scream. Who is that? It's like, it's fine. It's like, are you sure? Is she okay? And he opens the door. And there's just this girl who looks really sad drinking water. It's like, look, she's drinking water.
Look, she's drinking water.
She's fine.
Look, here she is drinking water. He looked upset about it. He was like, God, you guys are really making me put out for this. Look what I got to do.
And they're like, they all really just go like, oh, she's drinking water.
Yeah, they're like, well, she does look hydrated. Okay. And then they leave.
So, okay. Do you have any other thoughts on this, or do you want to rate it?
I mean, really, I can't think of anything else. Just overall, I think my favorite thing about the movie, it was just the camera work. There were some goofy zooms. It didn't really take me out of it a lot of the time. It was just an odd choice, but like I said, I think they were just kind of playing with it and seeing what was good. But a lot of things they did try, and I'm sure were new. In this movie, I think it all just worked out really well. This movie did just feel very aside from the sound, just the mix and just the music overall. This movie, it was fairly timeless. Because really, this was you can tell this story in any capacity, it's still gonna work.
I think you're right.
And I don't think no matter what the decade we're gonna be in, we can all relate to just some people having an affair and then just that love triangle thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for that show that this movie can live on this long. Being in 1967 and we're talking about it in 2023, that's pretty incredible. But overall, I think I'm gonna give this movie I'm gonna say a 3.5. I think is I enjoyed it.
What's interesting about that is you told me before this, the sound on this will take a 1.5 stars off, which means if it were a different soundtrack, it would be a perfect 5 from you.
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed a lot of this movie. I think like I said, the pacing wasn't necessarily bad. It was just a part of the times, and I think it's fairly timeless. And just if the soundtrack was a little different so that it would highlight certain parts of the movie better, then I think it would be almost perfect. Yeah.
Nice. I think for me, I like all the points you make about this being what seems to be a timeless story. I think for me, two things take it a little bit higher. One, this really, I guess, scratches an itch I didn't know I had. Just how this video is displayed, how the story is told. It's something that I think...
It's very raw.
Yeah, it's very raw. I like the aesthetic it's going for, and I like everything about it. In that sense, it made it feel as if it's just something that I could watch forever. Anything in that style. And then I'm also born and raised to be obsessed with Simon and Garfunkel. My mother raised me that way. I love them, and I probably always will. For that, even though I don't think the soundtrack was placed where it should be, I also love those songs to death. So I think I'm going to give it a 5. I think this is probably one of the best movies I've seen in a while. So we're ending this with a 3.5 from you and a 5 from me. Do you want to get into the news?
Yeah, I mean, first, just where we can start. I mean, last week, last Friday on the 4th, we had there was a meeting between the strikers and all the, what would you say?
WGA and executives. They have their own abbreviation like AMTPV or something like that.
Whatever, movie studio people and the writers and actors came together, and they had a meeting on the 4th that was basically just to see if both parties were willing and able to negotiate. And what happened is the executives blew a big fart and said, no. And so now we're going to wait until, what was it, like October?
Yeah,
or something like that?
Executives say for right now that they're going to wait until October to make a deal, hoping that by that time, writers will be out of funds. They're going to be begging to get any sort of deal, one that will be against their interest and not meeting their demands. Luckily, the WGA support fund has stayed strong right around here, so people should be able to keep funding, rent and food and stuff like that.
And if any of you do want to help, you can go to sagaftra.org/get involved. Then you should be able to go there, and then
that's great. For
there are just a bunch of all links. Well,
they have WGA stuff too.
Yeah,
that's
linked
awesome.
through. So and so everything you donate there just helps people get food on the table, get rent paid, everything like that.
Nice. I'm really hoping that this does get solved soon, but I do think this strike is healthy for a lot of reasons. It does show a lot of the Hollywood area, how like resolved and strong actors and writers are, and how they will like fight for what they think is fair for themselves. I also think that this allows for a lot of us to get over blockbuster fatigue, especially with superhero films. We're getting a big pause right now on Marvel projects, and Marvel really needs that.
Marvel's needed that for years.
It's needed it for years. They really have oversaturated the market. And we're seeing a really good mix of different films right now. Like, this has been a great summer for movies. There have been some bad ones that we've been getting out of our system. But we got Oppenheimer, we got Barbie, we got Spider-Verse. We've been getting a lot of quality films this summer.
Yeah, Spider-Verse was okay.
I'm still going to think Spider-Verse.
I have a lot of problems with Spider-Verse, but we'll talk about that someday maybe.
Okay.
I think one thing I think we just need more, not necessarily low budget films, but lower than fucking $500 billion.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't make half of that in the first 2 days, we're getting rid of it all.
Yeah.
Like, because that's horrible. Just for I guess franchising, and then just for just for movies. If you have that expectation it's going to be the best movie ever made, then it's not. You're never going to have your projects meet what you want.
We really should be shooting in Hollywood for probably $100 million or less. Obviously, we have to take into account high budget actors when we talk about that.
I mean, people trying to get us too. We just cost a lot too. So I think $200 million for us personally would probably be more around our range. But if people do want to get in contact with us, I think 500 is just a good starting point.
Yeah. I think if we're going to be doing a WAM movie, $1 billion budget is really how we're going to start negotiations, but expect it to reach about $2 billion. When it gets into the box office, the $5 you'll make will really pay off for that. So I think that's just basic.
And then a lot of the Bulgarians, they will need them, but they'll cost a lot, but it'll be worth it. Trust me.
We're not doing a film unless we cast all of Bulgaria.
Listen, buddy, I'm not doing this unless I get every person in that sheet. I want your whole country in that call sheet.
With just one shot of like a satellite image of Bulgaria count, and we're like, yeah, that'll do.
They're in there.
But it has to last 30 minutes.
Sure, that'll be it. That's the WAM movie. God, that'd be so stupid. But yeah, I'm hoping it does help with just our fatigue and the quality of movies. Last time we had a strike like this in 2007 over DVD royalties. We had really shit movies for a few years.
And we also had...
including the first Transformers.
We also had, what was it? That spike in reality TV.
Yeah, because they couldn't use actors. So they went... Like, things like The Bachelor and all those. That's when those all
just
took
imagine if producers and executives had given into the demands of writers at the beginning of the strike, there would be no Kardashians to care about.
Dude, the 2007 writer strikes is probably why like Wipeout was such a good show.
Oh my god!
You remember Wipeout?
Oh my god!
I loved Wipeout.
I
had the Wii game.
I had the Wii game too. I loved
it.
Wipeout was good. We did see stuff like that grow. I wonder how many can we tie that to? Was that American Ninja Warrior?
That was a few years later. Yeah,
what about you remember on Cartoon Network The Wall?
Oh yeah, Hole in the Wall. That was cool. Destroy, Build, Destroy.
That wasn't scripted.
Dude, what would happen?
I guess that wouldn't be scripted.
No, because it was technically them just doing like building stuff. They would just be prompted on what to build, but they were just acting like themselves.
Is that literally the only reason why there was such a spike in live action content on Cartoon Network?
That makes so much sense.
But we could also be talking out of our ass.
Yeah, but that would make a lot of sense.
In my mind, that's what happened.
Let me Google when did Destroy, Build, Destroy start?
Destroy, Build, Destroy, Do What Will Happen, and Hole in the Wall were around the same time. I remember watching them like back to back.
2009.
What?
Destroy, Build, Destroy.
Oh my god.
Let me see.
Hole in the Wall.
When did Hole in the Wall?
Our childhoods are built off of labor strikes.
2008.
Oh my god.
What was the other one? What did we say?
Do What Will Happen. That one might have been scripted. I wouldn't be surprised if that was just like I don't know.
2009.
Wow.
Action, reality. Yeah, no.
Wow.
Yeah, so all those I never thought about that. That's totally why we had all those live action shows. That's really cool, actually. But
that is really cool. That also destroys a little bit of my childhood.
I think that's cool. I think that explains.
It's like how you learn how Jesse was supposed to die in the first season of Breaking Bad, but they didn't write that episode because of the writer's strike, so they kept him. That I think is one of the best facts that I learned about the writer's strike.
Science.
Bitch. Yeah, I love him.
That's what he says all the time.
What other news do we have? The trailer for The Continental has come out. The spin-off for John Wick. I don't get why they're doing that while also doing a John Wick 5.
Didn't...
Spoilers.
Spoilers if you haven't seen John Wick 4. John Wick dies. How?
Well...
Is it his dog? His dog comes back to life.
Well, you've heard of beating a dead horse, right?
Are they going to beat a dead Wick?
Beat a dead dog. And he comes back as a zombie.
I don't believe you.
No, of course it's not.
Yeah, but what are they even going to do? It would just be his daughter or something? I don't know. I'm sure his wife or something. Does he have a wife? I don't remember.
He had a wife and she died of cancer.
I'm going to be real. I haven't seen any John Wick movies ever.
I saw the first one and it was okay. And then I know
he kills a lot of guys.
Yeah, he kills a lot of dudes.
He's pretty good at that.
Here's one that you'd like.
They should name him Mr. Kill.
A day ago, this was the news. It was the 10-year anniversary of We're the Millers.
Fuck that movie, dude. That movie's so shit.
I've been trying to get us to watch it on WAM, but he really doesn't want to.
I don't want to watch We Are the Millers whatsoever at all. I'd rather listen to Simon and Garfunkel cemented into my ears than watch We Are the Millers.
I like Jason Sudeikis. That's his name, the main guy. And then there's Will Porter, the guy that was in Guardians of the Galaxy 5? No, 3.
I haven't seen that either.
Oh yeah, you have.
It's on streaming now though.
I'm down to watch that
So
with you if
we
you really
could.
want.
So we could probably wham that one week.
What else? Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is going to film without actors because CG stuff.
And Jim Carrey's not acting anymore.
So he's not going to be Eggman.
Yeah, that's really Jim Carrey's so good. But
He's
why
great.
it kind of sucks his last roles were Eggman.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate.
That and comedians in cars getting coffee.
Well, he was just like batshit on that though, so that's okay. That's just him. But I mean, his actual like role, like that sucks. But Jim Carrey is such a cool guy. Like I was saying this before. Jim Carrey's the kind of crazy where like I want to sit down with him, kind of crazy. Just because he just seems like a lot always. And it's not that I want to talk to him, but I want to be able to say that I've experienced that being. Yeah.
Just get like a T-shirt that says "I met Jim Carrey and all I got is this mark across my face."
No, I survived Jim Carrey. That's what it's gonna be.
It would not be surprised if there was like he beat his wife thing.
Yeah,
that's a bad thing for me to say because I also like him, but it's also like I'm so ready to drop my attraction to him.
I don't think he'd beat his wife. I think he would like scream and yell and like verbally abuse. I don't think he'd hit her. I don't think he's a hitter. I think he's
That's
a yeller.
fair. He would be he's a manipulator.
Yeah, I think he's a yeller. I think he's a
What I would love to see is that becomes a controversy and then the video comes out and it's just like him yelling how he does in The Mask and everybody's like, okay, yeah, that's bad, but like I'm gonna keep this forever because it's so funny.
Yeah, it's bad, but also it's pretty silly. All right. Well, do we have any more news that we really want to say? Or?
Oh yeah, Miley Cyrus is dead.
Thank God. But I hope you all enjoyed. This was Wham.
You've been Wham.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Maybe.